So, hello and welcome. Please let me know if you can both see me and hear me. Of course, if you're listening to this at a later date, then it won't matter because it'll be too late. But if you're watching now, please let me know. Because perhaps if you were on the last broadcast and perhaps others had technical difficulties in the past. And Book of Gordon, good to see you here again. Can you both see and hear me? Okay, good. All good, all good. Good. So recently, I think it's been a recent on YouTube, you can invite people in. So I did have a plan to do a shared broadcast, but from what I can tell, you can only invite someone in via your phone. You can't do it from a laptop or a computer. And last time I tried to broadcast this from my phone when the video was played back and it had been saved, it was on its side. So I'm not sure about that. So my friend who I was going to do the live broadcast with joined towards the end last time. So perhaps I'll see him on here and I'll go through it again. So anyway, today, as you can see, the description is breakups, letting go, and Q&A, so questions and answers at the end. So a number of different topics, but all connected. And perhaps you have been through at least one breakup. I know I've been through many myself. Perhaps you are going through one now. And at times of breakup, it can be something that takes place after a relationship has more or less already come to an end. So although to others it can seem sudden, it can be something that at least emotionally has already taken place, perhaps weeks or months or even years. So when it does come to an end, it can be, in some cases, it can be a relief. It can be something that was long overdue. And then in other occasions, it can be something that, at least on one level, appears to have come out of nowhere. And when it comes to breakups, it doesn't always matter if there was a healthy relationship and a good connection, because it can still be painful. And after experiencing many painful breakups myself, I ended up writing a how-to guide called Breakups, How to Get Over a Breakup. And I'm now going to read you the description of this how-to guide, and then I will go into the content section. And this was a book that I put together, I think it was August in 2018. It was the year when I started to write how-to guides, because before then I just put together normal books, and then I thought I want to give more, and a number of subjects came to mind. It wasn't difficult. So for the description of this how-to guide, there's a number of bullet points, as there usually is. And I say, have you been through an extremely painful breakup? And after that, it's, are you unable to focus? Do you find it hard to get out of bed each morning? Are you obsessed with your ex? Do you believe that you will never feel better? And have you felt like this before? And then I go into, if you answered yes to any of these questions, it is likely to be a good idea for you to heal the pain that is within you. And then I go on to say Breakups, How to Get Over a Breakup, is a step-by-step guide that will allow you to gradually get over a breakup. It will show you what you can do both internally and externally to move forward. And then at the end, I say each chapter builds upon the other, giving you everything that you need to get over a breakup. And then through becoming aware of what is holding you back and doing something about it, your life will gradually begin to change. And just as I was reading that, I thought it would be a good idea to go into the bullet points to elaborate on a number of these points. So the first one, I said, have you been through an extremely painful breakup? So if you have, or perhaps you've been through one recently, then this may be a time when you are experiencing a lot of deep hurt, a lot of deep pain. You could feel helpless and hopeless. Just making sure I don't touch upon another point. And it could be as though you are in a very deep hole. Last time in the broadcast, we were speaking about films, and we touched upon the Batman film, if I remember rightly, about Bruce Wayne being in a cave. And when there is a breakup, it can be as though you are in a very deep hole that you will never get out of. And so no matter how you have felt in the past, in this moment, it can be as though this is it. And it can be a bit like living in a climate that is cold most of the year. And then it can be hard for you to get your head around that it can get warm. There are other places where it is warm because of how all-consuming it is for you to be in this very low emotional place. And then with the second one, I said, are you unable to focus? And as with the other one, it can be all-consuming, so you might find it hard to think about other areas of your life. When you're at work, you might find it hard to concentrate and to get things done. And so your performance can greatly drop. And through your focus being on what has taken place and the pain you're in, just saying I didn't mention this, you can find that you are no longer interested in doing other things. So perhaps before you wanted to, or you would often go and see friends and socialize, and you'd be interested in, say, traveling or exploring and all kinds of different activities. And now, because of the breakup, you can find that nothing really interests you. And then the third one, do you find it hard to get out of bed each morning? If you are working, of course, in the week, then you're just going to have to, unless you take time off, it's going to be a struggle. And you may find that when you do get to sleep, you soon wake up, so your sleep is disrupted, and then your energy throughout the day is not very good. And this then affects your memory as well. And then the fourth one, are you obsessed with your ex? Of course, obsession can be seen as a sign that you are missing your ex, and it's a sign of love. But of course, obsession can be another defense. So through obsessing over them, and then stops you from having to feel the pain you're in. And not only that, through being obsessed, you can end up doing things that you later regret. There's been lots of stories about someone and people that have been obsessed with their ex. They've not been thinking clearly, and then they do something, and afterwards they look back and think, why the hell was I doing that? But of course, they were not in their normal frame of mind. And then number 5, do you believe that you will never feel better? Of course, as I said just now, if you are in a very deep hole, then your mind is going to come to these conclusions about this is how it is now, this is how it will always be. Because there's so much, let's say, evidence, or at least the feelings within you are making you only see things in a way that validates how you feel. And because you are in such an emotionally charged state, as I said, it's going to be hard for you to think clearly and to see evidence that shows, at least if you've, and this is the next part, if you've been in this position before, then you might be able to remember that you did end up feeling better. And of course, if you have been in this position before, then you might be pretty fed up that you've ended up in this position again. So just to look at the comments here. So lots of people from Canada. It's good. It's good. So it's the first one from Book of Gordon. I have been in monk mode for 5 years and never been happier. Yeah, good idea. Good idea. Yeah, if that's the way best for you, then that's the way to do it. I think in this day and age, there's more freedom, less pressure. Of course, there's still pressure, but definitely the old traditional ways of doing things has gradually crumbled. So people can be more in tune with what is right for them instead of, well, got to do this, got to do that, and pleasing others, and then we're not pleasing ourselves. And next one's not a question by looks of things, but Chad Ha, I hope I've said that right, says here, hold on, let me go back. Sorry, we'll go back to the Book of Gordon. So after Book of Gordon said they're in monk mode, it says, since breaking up with my last girlfriend, I stopped arguing. I do not miss it. I replace it with peace and quiet and find it very soothing. And on to Chad Ha again. So I've been subscribed for a couple of years and read all your posts. I grew up with a enmeshed mother-son relationship. I'm now in psychoanalysis 4 times a week, and it's really good for me. Good to hear. Making progress there. Terrific. In a couple of years. So we have a regular here coming in to join us. And I think that it was, as I said, I did a live broadcast about 3 weeks ago. I think it was 3 weeks on Sunday. And that was a bank holiday weekend in England. And it's also another bank holiday weekend, but I just thought today's better. Anyway, and then before then, I think it was about 2 or 3 years I did 4 for live broadcasts. So I think it was 2 years and I did one, then about a year or two before then I did two. And I just felt the call recently to carry on. So Chad Haas from Canada, Ontario, Book of Gordon from Ontario as well. So the Canadian contingent is here. What's the weather like in Canada now? I think you said last time, Book of Gordon, it was about 14, 15, wasn't it? Probably been about the same here. And where is everyone else from? If you feel the call to share where you're from and how you came across my channel, it would be great to hear from you. And then Book of Gordon has said, to be serious, my ex-girlfriends were all reflective of my mother, and I now realise that it's not time for me to date yet. I am working on me. Yeah, good idea. Good idea. It's no rush. No rush, in your own time. So it's sunny and warm right now. Good. And I suppose in Canada, being behind, what is it? About early afternoon, I suppose. And then last weekend, if you're on the call, you remember it was about the true self. How to reconnect with your true self. Originally titled, Do You Hide Your True Self? But it was transformed from a normal book to a how-to guide, and that was also a book that I first started to put together in 2018, as with the how to get over a breakup, which I'm now touching upon now. So there's a lot of activity in 2018 for me, or writing going on. Book of Gordon says, I bought the book but have not started to read it. All in good time. All in good time. So, as I was saying, so I've just read a number of the bullet points on the back of the how-to guide. And so there's no doubt about it. If you are going through a breakup now and it is painful, I completely get it. Brutal. And another part as well, along with being in a hole, there can be the sense of not wanting to live, not wanting to continue anymore. It can be that bad. And death can be seen as the only way out. And of course, if there's a sense of shame around your needs and opening up, then you can feel very trapped, and it can be normal for you to keep things in. So to carry on, when it comes to the content section of the book, there's an introduction. I then go into the consequences. And so the consequences looks into how you can feel and how you can behave, or how you can behave at least. And then the emotional experience, that is how you can feel. And step one is support. So the importance of reaching out for support in a variety of different ways. And step two, emotional work. Just to put that on ice, as I say. Chad Hara again is just saying, I'm glad I stopped by, but I have to go to my analysis now, which starts in a few minutes. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you very much, Chad. all the best with your analysis. I hope it goes well. Sounds like you're making great progress. You got a lot of support there, and sounds like you're on the right path as well. So full power to you, and keep up the great work. I'm guessing by the time that's finished, I'm guessing a session's about an hour long. Last time I was on here for about 2 hours, but who knows? Perhaps I will have finished. Perhaps you'll be doing other things. But anyway, all the best for that. And so, step 3, to carry on with the content section, is dealing with your trauma. Step 4, changing your environment. Because of course, when you're in a, again, depends of course if you were in a relationship that has just ended and you lived with your partner, or even if you didn't and they came to yours or you went to theirs, there can be all kinds of belongings and possessions and other bits and pieces that remind you of your ex. So these items kind of taps into feng shui in some ways, but these items can keep you locked in and anchored. I suppose it's why I think I remember in the book I said, some people can end up moving house, but of course not everyone is in a position to do that. But there is the internal and the external elements. As I said in the write-up, I go into what you can do both internally and externally. So it's not just about going within. As I've said, if you're surrounded by all these pictures and clothing, jewelry, ornaments, all these bits and pieces, and that's going to keep you in there. And then, of course, that's a bit like when there is a loss and someone passes on, then there can be the need going to the extreme. Some people can hold on to everything. Other people, right, let's get rid of everything. And of course, at the same time, there's sentimental value. And again, getting rid of everything can just be another, it's like emotional cutoff, removing everything. There's a way not to feel, and of course, it's through feeling that there can be processing of pain and making progress. So, step 5, staying active. Because as I've said, if you're feeling depressed after a breakup, then it can be very easy just to not do anything, because the enthusiasm can be a sense of, my life's over, what's the point in doing anything? But even if it's just a walk, it can be so important just to do something. And this is when support comes in. So when there's someone around in your life who can say, right, come on, let's go for a swim, let's do this. They're there to give you the external motivation, because there's less internal motivation. It reminds me, as I've said in another broadcast and in a video, I've run a number of half marathons, and in the beginning, I'm motivating myself and I'm going as fast as I can, and I'm talking to myself in the right way to keep going. But then as it gets towards the end and the engine's just about dropped out, then that's when I need some people towards the end to say, come on, Oliver, you can do it. And for them to really give me that support to push me beyond the stage where I'm feeling just about worn out, to be polite. So, and then after that, step 6, self-love. Step 7, do you need to change your outlook? Because of course our outlook has an impact. Step 8, journaling. something that I've mentioned in all my how-to guides, the importance of journaling. And then at the end, afterward, my story, I'll give a very brief overview of some of the things that have happened to me. I need a whole book to really get into that. And then at the end, acknowledgements. So I've covered a number of important points there. And as with all my other books and how-to guides, that is available on Amazon as a Kindle and paperback version. On Amazon now, they do a hardback version of books, but I haven't gone for that. Not quite sure about doing that. So I'd imagine Chad Har has disappeared now, gone to his next port of call. And so someone from Canada has left the broadcast. And as before, feel free to let me know where you are from. And if you have any questions about anything I've said, any comments, feel free to send them over. And in London this weekend and today as well, there is the Mind, Body and Spirit Festival. And I will be checking that out tomorrow. Going to go down there to the Olympia Stadium. Perhaps it's not a stadium, it's more like a conference centre. So I'll be going down there and seeing what it's all about. The last time I went there was in 2019. So what's that, 4 years? And then before then I went in, I think it was 2009, with a friend of mine from college. And that was an interesting encounter, lots of different stalls and different approaches and outlooks down there. So perhaps you have that in Canada. I imagine they have these all over the world. Definitely in places like Australia and America and countries like that. So just as I look into the next stage, because the next stage of the broadcast is letting go. So breakups and letting go is a very similar topic. Because of course, when it comes to a breakup, it is about letting go of pain, letting go of ways of seeing things, letting go of possessions, potentially, letting go of hopes and expectations, and a future that now is different, a present that is different. So it's very much about letting go. But before I go into that, when it comes down to breakups and why they can be so painful, it is often due to early deprivation. So early wounds that end up being repressed are then activated and unlocked when a relationship comes to an end. So it can then seem as though the other person is causing us to feel a certain way. And of course, there is a loss. What was there is no longer there. So, of course, that's going to have an effect, regardless of if someone went through a rough time growing up. But with our side, there is the pain that is unlocked through early deprivation. And so, therefore, the more deprived someone was when they were younger and growing up, the more pain they can experience when a relationship comes to an end, because they're not going to have firm foundations. They're not going to have as much resilience either, because there's all this pain coming up. And so because there's less of a strong core, their ability to handle what is going on is naturally going to be a lot harder. And so just as when they were a small child, it may have seemed as though their world has come to an end when they were left and neglected, and this same experience, even though now they're an adult and they can do all kinds of things to move forward, when the pain is so strong, it can seem as though they are back in that moment and there is then nothing they can do. And then this is where the the term learned helplessness comes in, because if someone is back into an old experience where they were helpless and they had those experiences hundreds or thousands of times, then they will have this sense that they are helpless. So they experience a loss, and then what is coming up is a sense of being helpless. And of course, intellectually, they can say, this is not true, there's a lot you can do, to themselves, and other people can say it. But because the feelings are so strong and their mind can even end up going offline, then it can seem as though they are helpless, and that is the truth. So it can be difficult, and it can take time to gradually move beyond the helplessness, and for them to realize that this is how things were, in the past, but this is not how things are now. Because, of course, the past is being projected onto the present, and at that level, it's very hard to see, because, of course, our brain, as I say, we see with our brain, not our eyes. And so that's where the conflict comes in. And so when it comes to letting go, so the next part, letting go, is often, especially in self-development, it's often seen as something that we just consciously choose to do, and something that if we really want to do it, we will. And if we haven't let go, it's because we don't really want to. So it's often a very mental approach, just making that choice, and then we can just let go. It's similar to being told, perhaps you've been told this yourself, of just love yourself, just love who you are. It's all about loving yourself, again, as if this is something that's just, you can do it in an evening. Just love yourself. And then with the letting go, just let go. But of course, if there is a holding on, let's say a holding on, and again, coming back to relationships, if there's a holding on to someone in your life, someone you were with months ago, years ago, of course, you may want to set an intention, you want to move on, to let go. And at the same time, there can be the emotional work, so feeling, surrendering to how you feel in order to truly let go. And as this is a process, it's not linear, similar to grieving. If you've ever lost someone, then you will know that at times you will feel better, but then at times you won't. and it can seem as though you're going round in circles, you're not making progress, but over time, gradually, you will see that you are able to move forward. So letting go is not always easy, and it can take time. But when there's not that understanding, then it can be easy to feel as though there's something wrong with you, you're not doing it right, you don't really want to move on, and if you did, then you would just let go. But something that is a process, and it's not, in a lot of cases, it's not something that you can simply think your way out of. I think, as I touched upon, or maybe I didn't, but when I was speaking about the True Self book, and what I go into there is our society. Many societies are very mind-centric, so there's a massive focus on the mind, and it's as if we can simply use our thinking brain to just change how we feel all the time. And while our thoughts can create how we feel, they can also be a reflection of how we feel. So they can, if we are carrying emotional wounds, then the thoughts can be an effect of those emotional wounds. And then in that case, it's not going to be a case of just being able to think our pain away as if our mind is some kind of magician. The feelings can be repressed, but they can't purely be thought away in that case. So with that said, any questions? Any feedback? Soon I will be going on to the last section, the Q&A section of the broadcast. So any questions, I will be happy to answer them. No questions yet. I'll give you a few minutes. I think one of the challenges with a live broadcast is that there's so many different time zones for me to take into account. But I think the weekend is probably the best, as more people are likely to be available. I'm guessing as it is a Friday. more people are going to be working. So is anyone on the other side? Are you going through a breakup now? Have you recently been through one? I wonder. Perhaps you've been through a number of painful breakups in the past, so you know what it's like to be in a hole. What's just come to mind is, well, it's often said, as with the title of my how-to guide, getting over. Getting over. But when it comes to moving forward with any kind of loss, as they say, the way out is the way out is in, the way out is through. Getting over something can be seen as very materialistic, a mental, the physical realm. We're going to get over something, going to remove something. But when it comes to the emotional realm and pain, it's going through it, surrendering. As I said, it's more of a feminine approach, surrendering. So there is then the masculine element of working through defenses, the courage going in there, and then once we're in there, then it's feeling the pain, going with it. But when there is and this is where support comes in, because when there is so much pain within, and there also can be the fear of drowning, of being overwhelmed, of falling apart. And that's when there is a need for external support, so that person can hold the space, so we can go in there without feeling as though we're going to drown. And then as I've said before, as our ability to contain and hold space for ourselves, then there is then less need for external support. It's like having scaffolding on a building until the building is strong enough. And so the scaffolding in this context will be someone else. Could be a therapist, could be a healer. Of course, the issue when it comes to reaching out to friends is that depending on what your friend or friends are like, perhaps they're not really into working through their pain. They might have their own issues. They might just be too busy to really be there for you in this way. But when you work with someone, then they're there for you. They're focused on you. You're not disrupting their life. And of course, they also have an understanding of what is going on. Whereas if you have friends that are not really on the path, they're not going in that direction, then they might say, for example, just get over it. And what's the common saying? The best way to get over one person is to get under another. All this stuff. So it's just a lot of it's just avoidance. It's not about working through anything. And then when nothing is done, it can be very easy then to end up in the same position. So it's like being with one person. There were certain challenges, and these challenges are usually a reflection of what we haven't dealt with within. And then when there is no inner healing taking place, then find someone else, or they seem different. All the externals, all they're really attractive, and everything goes out the window, can't think clearly. And then down the line, this person's the same as the last one. All the same issues, or a lot of them, are being replayed again. So as Book of Gordon said earlier on about taking their time, you take your time, and a lot of the issues that would manifest will be resolved. So it's like delaying gratification now, or short-term pain, long-term gain, or short-term gain, long-term pain. So it's thinking about the big picture. So just coming up to an hour now. I think I will probably end the broadcast on the hour. So now's the time. If you have any questions, now's the time to send them over. Yeah, I think, as I said, I think the weekend is probably better. But it's all right. There'll be people, of course, watching them later, and I think that if I didn't enjoy doing them, I think it would be different. But as they are recorded and can be watched later, it's a bit like me doing a video. And let's say it doesn't get many views, and then after, could even be months or years down the line, then it gets views. So it's okay. So narcissism is key in relation to, in terms of subjects. Please feel free to elaborate, Book of Gordon. Yeah, reaction videos. So when you say a reaction video, how do you do those? Is that a video where there's, it's a bit like a green screen where there's someone who is in front of a TV or something? I think I've seen some of those. All right, so a video about a film. That's a reaction, right? I think I said before that I have done a number of articles about different films. I did one on the Adjustment Bureau, Perhaps you've seen that. I did one on, what is it, 24 hours, that rock climbing film. Let's see what else. What else did I do? The articles on. Let's have a look. I think I did about 5 or 6. Let's see. Okay, well that took a while. So the first one I did was Tron Legacy. Thought that was a really good film. Then it was not 25 hours, 127 hours. Then I did The Adjustment Bureau. I did Black Swan with Natalie Portman. I did The Iron Lady. Did a film called Chronicle. I did Prometheus. I did The Life of Pi. I did Gravity. And the last one I did was 50 Shades of Grey, but I have covered other films as well. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Yeah, good film. Good film. Saw that years ago. And As Good as It Gets with Jack Nicholson. It's a funny film. He's done a lot of good films. I think he's retired now, though, isn't he? Don't think he does anything now. I think one of the last films he did was the Departed, wasn't it? Scorsese and massive lineup. I think he played a all retired. Yeah. Yeah, all having a break. Right then. So final words before I wrap it up for the evening. Very much an off the cuff broadcast. I just decided to do this broadcast. I think it was about an hour and a half before, so very much a last minute one. As I said, I think next time it will be probably Saturday. Saturday evening's probably best, or Sunday. Probably better as well. Well, keep up the good work, Book of Gordon. Being in monk mode, and I'm sure when that time comes, you'll be back in the field, back out there again. So, as it's Friday, I hope you have a good weekend, whatever you do. Perhaps you're going to have an adventure this weekend. Perhaps you're going to have a chilled one. Whatever you do, have a good time. And I will see you next time. Over 50, it does not matter. Okay, so does that mean you're over 50? So it doesn't matter when the broadcast is because you're over 50 dating. Right. Well, I will see you on another broadcast, and in a different way. I will see you in the next video that I put together. Until then, keep up the good work and have a great rest of the weekend. Or rest of a great weekend. Keep thinking it's the weekend. Until then, see you later.